item 5B7, sponsorship policy. Councillor Rose.
Make a motion that council receive for information the sponsorship and kind donation policy.
All right.
Number 712015.
Okay. Discussion? Yep.
I would actually be opposed to that. I'd actually like to see us have a policy for it. Instead of us breaking our bylaws and handing out monies for the different events throughout the year, if we had a policy, at least we wouldn't be breaking policy. But I am thoroughly and totally disgusted with this council that we would take $15,000 and throw it into this sponsorship after we've hounded Public Works, after we've talked to the library, after we've been to the rec board and said you guys have to lower your tax or lower your budgets. We go ahead and turn around. We've done our for the different grants. We save money. No sooner do we save the money, we turn around and we stick it in the line item so we can spend it. It's thoroughly disgusting that this council would do that, especially after we've hounded everybody to cut costs. But I do believe the policy is the right way to handle things in the future, so that during the year when stuff does come up, we've got some kind of a guideline as to how we respond.
Councillor Rose?
If that's our concern, and that sort of is mine, is that we're a small town, and we're dealing with taxpayers' dollars, and I don't know that I feel that we have the right to give away taxpayers' dollars on sponsorships. Sponsorships are in my opinion, advertising and promotion, and that's what a lot of that's why they go to the business community for sponsorships and promotions. I mean, I guess if we were very lucrative and we had a lot of extra money and we were getting government grants more maybe like they did in the past, we could look at things differently. But with our small budget, the reason why I did it that way at this point, I wanted to make sure that we considered maybe the policy that we have on sponsorship is that we don't give out money in sponsorship at all, and that we consider the grants that we've already given out, but that sponsorship is just something that with our small budget we can't afford. There's a lot of other ways that we can actually say that we are helping with sponsors with the events that come into town. We can advertise them on our webpage. We can give them signage on a note on our electronic sign. We can help them via our our Facebook page. We can help them in that way. The other thing, if it's an event that's at the arena or the event that's like that uses our facilities, we can ensure that the facilities are adequate and that we've got we've got the snow removed or whatever needs to be done in order to help out. But I mean, we're helping in a lot of other ways. Do we have to hand over $500 to this one and $1,000 to this one? I don't like that we can pick and choose. I would prefer that we just didn't sponsor anybody.
So if we don't sponsor anybody, then I guess we shouldn't have sponsored the Highbury Elks for rodeo.
That's right. I never thought that. I mean, I'm starting to think that really that a lot of those sponsorships are just they're for advertising purposes, and we're giving away taxpayers' dollars to advertise the town, and I don't know that there's a benefit. I'd rather see that we worked on economic development in a few other areas that maybe we would stimulate growth and give some tax incentives that we've talked about for new construction or downtown revitalization. Put some money towards things that may stimulate growth. Continually donate. I mean, I know that these events need money, but the business community, the restaurants, the hotels, the retail outlets, they're the ones that really do benefit a lot from most of these events, and they are very generous sponsors of these events. Do we need to be sponsoring them as well?
I totally agree with Councillor Rose. We should not be handing out money, and I can't agree more. But if we are going to do it, I'd rather see us have a policy in place. That's why I'm in favor of just the policy. I'm thoroughly disgusted that we've even allocated that much money for this. I think that's just a slap in the face of every single person in Public Works, like I said before, that this council would do that. I think that's just atrocious. But instead of us breaking bylaw every time somebody comes in and we hand out money, they were supposed to have their applications in. We extended the grant, or we extended the deadline. We're still getting them, so instead of us breaking the bylaws, we should have something in place if we're going to do it. But I agree with you. I would rather not see us have grants and do away with it all. We should be instead trying to convince the Elks or the Friendship Center to get their bingo hall back up. This is where these community groups are coming from, because they don't have access like they used to at the bingo bar or the friendship hall with their Eagle's Nest. I couldn't agree with you. I would rather see none of it, but if we're gonna have this money being allocated, we better have something in place so we're not breaking our bylaws.
Mayor Fox?
I believe that was what the policy was designed for and that's what the question is should we have a sponsorship policy, not whether there's too much money in it or whether or not, it's you're gonna receive it for information. We've had administration spend hours working on this policy because we deemed that we needed a sponsorship policy. We have a line item with money in it, and I believe that when we were talking about the amount, wasn't there already a call for some of that sponsorship money already?
There was a new, I think there was the argument posed by Sharon Cox that the golf tournament fund will be coming from that
there.
amount. Yeah, that's what the argument is.
And there was, so that was why the amount was 5,000 or 15,000 was because I believe 5,000 was already allocated to the charity golf tournament, which is a sponsorship, and you're basically saying, no, we shouldn't sponsor. Well, we're going to get into problems with, we don't have a policy in place, otherwise we're just sitting around, as you say, ad hoc, they just keep coming in. So it's better to have a policy. And if you want to say, no, okay, we're not gonna sponsor anymore, I think we should be asking the citizens of this town whether or not they agree for this. I don't think that 6 councillors, 7 councillors sitting around a table can make a decision that's cutting off the money to how many organizations in this town come here and ask for $500 or $250 or $800 or whatever. I think that you would have a pretty full gallery all of a sudden if you're deciding, well, that's it, we're not going to give any money to anybody. It's going to be a question of what exactly are you attempting to do for $10,000 on an $8 million budget?
And that's part of where I come from, is the budget on this is small, right? And we spend an inordinate amount of time dealing with some of this stuff, and that is one of the things. Should we give it to them? Should we not? That's one of the things that I don't like as much about having the sponsorship policy, and leads me to a little bit what you're saying is maybe we don't have sponsorships, but it is so small and it might help some of those. So I sort of I can see both sides of this one, and I don't know. Like, it's not a lot of money. It helps a few organizations. Some organizations we know we give money to that probably don't need it. They have enough money, they're just getting as much as they can, and they build up and they make money at some of the events that we help sponsor. And do we get much benefit out of it? Are we, as a town, gaining anything from it? If we're marketing ourselves, is this a good way to get bang for the dollars? Or could we do other things to market ourselves? Maybe doing more with LSLEA to get a package out there that promotes our town or something. I don't know. It's a tough one for me.
I had voted in favor of this, and listening to what Councillor Rose says and Councillor Carriers have said, I can see where you're coming from, but I see benefit in that you're supporting your organizations that are in your community. You're supporting them, saying this is a good event, we think this is a great event for the people. I can understand where you're coming from. It's sort of a balancing act in a sense, but we do need this type of, we need something to guide us as to what qualifies.
So speaking to the policy, I've looked at some of the criteria and eligibility in the second bullet from the bottom where it says recipient must be responsible and reputable organization whose name and identity is in good standing in the community. That's a judgment call, and I don't think it should be part of the policy. The one above it, I think, basically says it all. It's a community organization, or it's a non-profit registered charity. But whose judgment is? Are you gonna put on that? I also look at the second bullet down from that criteria. The event is located in the town of High Prairie, or I believe it should say if located outside the town limits, offers clear, tangible benefit for the town of High Prairie. Unless you wanna say the event is located in the town of High Prairie, and offers, but I don't know what this or means,
Yeah, you're right.
so.
What do you wanna see?
Well, you're looking at, Triangle, that's their, it's one of the few Canada Day, celebrations we have, it's outside the town limits. If you have anything at the airport, that's outside the town limits.
Golf course.
Golf course is outside the town limits, so I think you probably want to say,
And if located.
if located outside the town limits, offers a clear and tangible benefit.
Councillor Carrier, you had your hand up.
Sorry.
Okay, Councillor Rose?
If we're looking at this, policy on the exclusions from funding, any organization or event who would have a conflict of interest or a perceived conflict of interest between the sponsor and the town. I think that's just sort of as vague and it's difficult for us to, it's a judgment call.
Yeah.
Because we could have somebody that we're in conflict with in their business per se, but they could still be a elk or a member of an organization and they're coming to us asking for a donation, so is that a conflict? And all requests will be capped. I would say if you guys are insistent on giving away the money, that I would cap it at $500 and have a lot of smaller sponsorships then, because my other problem with this is that we say, oh yeah, this is a good cause, we're gonna give them $2,000, and then somebody else comes in with and we're trying to make a judgment call on which ones are better causes and not. I mean, I like the idea of if it's a sponsorship, grants are one thing, right? Grants, people that need money and come to the town because their organization needs money for operation. I think that that's where we should be helping out. Sponsorships, to me, I've been in business for 25 years in this community. It's all about advertising. It's just advertising your business. It's getting free tickets that we always struggle with, because then who gets, so if we're too high up there on the sponsorship list, we're dealing with free tickets, we're dealing with advertising. So I would say cap it low, like at a $500 maximum. Always, if we want to, that way our name's there, we're still sponsoring events, but we're not sponsoring it. We're not going to become a title sponsor with taxpayers' dollars.
I would speak against putting any cap on that. Applications will only be considered if funding is still available. If we've used it up in 2 grants, it's gone. That's it. And I also, going back up to the following types of organizations will not be considered for funding. Religious organizations or any religiously affiliated groups. There's a lot of churches here that have got youth groups, and I don't think that they should be excluded just because they're sponsored by a religious organization. I would agree with political organization candidates in the lobby. Groups, no, I don't know about this lobby advocacy group either, because what is a lobby advocacy group? Is Canada Cancer Society, they're lobbying for cancer surviving. I mean, but certainly political organizations and candidates should be excluded. And I'm not sure about for-profit organizations. What's a for-profit organization? That we would be,
The Elks.
they're considered a non-profit.
But I mean, their events are profitable, so it's like, where do you draw lines, right?
I would exclude for-profit.
Yeah, you exclude businesses, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Steve. So, and the decision cannot be appealed. I have a problem with things that can't be appealed. I don't know if the rest of you have a problem with that.
Well, I think we've got two questions going here. One question is whether or not we want to support sponsorship in kind donations, which the motion is more or less stating. And then the second one is if we are going to support them, then we can get into more of the details on the policy. So I think we need to vote on the one. We need to vote on it regardless, but one of the other things that I've just been thinking about and will throw out there is maybe this is something that we, whether we want to put $15,000 towards this can be still part of that budget discussions that we're going into when we do our final, budget deliberations. Maybe we want to wait, look at all of this stuff and put it together when we do that for, what amount that would be. Whether it's 15 or whether it's 10 or maybe it's not there at all, I don't know. I'm just saying that's maybe where we discuss some of that some more. Any other, so,
So, Mr. Chair, the way it's looking like is, when we have our budget workshop, we have all the suggestions and ideas that we're getting from this table is now being collated into a budget. And we'll bring that to you on March the 28th. You can decide not to do anything with it, but we've had back and forth, and we'll bring that information, apart from if you agree to the March 17th workshop. So any decision that you make will go back to the treasurer, you input the information, and we'll be bringing the final budget to council on March 28th for an up and down decision, so we know where we go from.
Councilor Rose?
So then should we be looking at whether or not we're going to have a sponsorship policy based on whether we feel we have access to those funds after we make that decision? Like, can we look at, what would be the process of, can we receive it for information but not stick it back on a back burner kind of thing? Like, we wanna deal with it, and if we have the funds and if we decide that that's the way council wants to go forward, that we could still then make the amendments to this policy to accommodate what everybody's happy with.
Yeah, we could do that. Certainly we could, there's two ways in my view of looking at this. Is one, we could have a policy in place and we could put it in, but there may not be money in the budget to allocate out there, right? We could have this if we ever wanted it, but we might make a decision not to use it. So then why would we have a policy if we're not gonna use it, right? That's sort of the question.
You've already allocated 15,000 to this line, budget line.
Well, we haven't got a final budget. Nothing is finalized.
No,
It's
you
in
can
the
change
interim.
it,
It's
but
in the interim budget.
It's in the interim budget.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's not a finalized budget, so anything that, if we decide not to put money in there, we could still have a policy and have no money in there to give out. Or we could have a new policy that says the town is not going to give out any sponsorships at this point in time. That's another way of looking at it. So I don't know.
Question?
Call the question. Okay, we have the motion to receive this for information. All those in favor? Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, opposed? Carried. And so at this point, we can talk about it some more, even if we wanted to at the budget meeting.
I have to just make sure that we're sure that we can spend money.
Yeah, so sponsorship requests become a little redundant. We'll go ahead with yours.
Make a motion that council receive for information the sponsorship sponsorship requests.
Okay,
Is that both requests?
Yep.
Mayor Fox?
I don't think that it's fair to these organizations to, pull the rug out from under them at this, with the short notice that you've given them. Pioneer Thresherman, July 1st celebration and demolition derby has counted on our sponsorship for many years. Many of our residents of this town specifically go to that celebration, and to say that the town no longer supports it, I think is a disservice to the residents of the town. The High Prairie Fish and Game Association is asking for $500. Again, a small amount, but at least shows that the council of the town of High Prairie supports their sportsman show. It is one of the biggest ones, well, I think it is the biggest one in northwestern Alberta, and I think we are moving down a slope where we're saying that we don't support anything in this town because the businesses can support it. They pay taxes to us. I would think that they would expect that some of their tax money goes to help the organizations that are bringing more people into our town to support their businesses.
Okay, Trevor and then Debbie.
We already have the grant policy in place, or bylaw in place. Like you said, Madam Mayor, they've been doing this for many, many years. We advertise in the paper. If they can't fill out the form and get it in so that it can be part of our grants, why should we be last minute just because they remembered, oh man, we should get some cash from the town? We already have something in place. If they can't be bothered to fill out the paperwork on a timely fashion and follow the same rules and guidelines as everybody else in the town, they're unfortunately going to be told no. And that
No, the rebuttal is to what he's saying.
For rebuttal on you and I didn't get it.
but anyways, if I can finish my thought anyways. Just because there's an event in town doesn't mean that the town has to sponsor it. Like Councilor Rose said before, there's other ways we can help these organizations out other than handing out money. If we want to lower the taxes or keep our budget the same, then we have to say no. It's not a matter of us saying, here's some cash, we can get our picture in the paper and say, look how great we are as a council. It has nothing to do with that. If this council wants to keep the taxes the same or lower them, you have to say no. That's all there is. That's the bottom line of it. You can't just keep giving money away.
Debbie and then Mayor Cox.
And all I was gonna say is I'd like us to be careful about saying we're not supporting events just because we're not giving them money. If we make that decision not to sponsor events and not to pay for that sponsorship, which in my mind is paying for an advertising, right, and paying for the tickets and the things that we get from that sponsorship, that doesn't mean we're not supporting the events and we're not supporting the community. I'd like to see that maybe we support them in other ways, and maybe we make sure that council, if they want councillors there, if they want the mayor to speak, there's lots of different ways that council and the town of High Prairie can support events. $500 to the fish and game people probably isn't gonna make or break them. And I mean, this still can be dealt with. We don't have to make a decision right now. And we're talking about July 1st event at the Derby, right? So I mean, a decision in March probably doesn't have to happen.
That's probably true, but this, as you were saying, they made the deadline. The argument that was put forth as to why they were denied was this was sponsorship. This was advertising. No, it's not a grant. We're not gonna give it to you because it's not a grant. So now it's come back as a sponsorship, and you're saying, no, it's not a sponsorship. No, we don't wanna sponsor them. Like, make up your mind as to how you want to deal with this. It wasn't a grant, now it's not a sponsor. Now we're gonna do something in kind.
But you've also asked administration to come up with ways to save money, right? Trim the budget. Let's trim the budget. Let everybody save some money. This is just, when you really take a look at our budget and how small it is and what small amount of tax dollars we have to deal with, we have to take a serious look at, do we have the right to use it this way?
Okay.
I just have one comment. So we've received this for information. So we haven't made a motion to send it back to administration to revamp the policy with the changes that was defined, that, you proposed with your cap. Mayor Cox proposed with, taking out some of the wording. So we're, right now, it's kind of hanging.
I could maybe respond to that. I would see this would be something that would come back to our budget discussions and our budget meeting and decide whether or not, in my view of things, the policy needs to be there if we're gonna give out sponsorship dollars. And we have to decide whether or not we wanna put any money in there and do sponsorship dollars. That's the way I'm looking at this. And so I don't know if it's in limbo until we can get our budget meeting and have those discussions around that. So that's the way I view it. I don't know about anybody else. But,
So the money, we've already allocated the money, but it's only in the interim budget, correct?
correct.
So when we do the final budget, we decide whether we want this or not. And then at that point, when are we getting the policy? Like, when are we getting the new policy if we're going to do it or not do it?
Yeah, the interim budget was passed, you remember, in December without 15,000, so it would be, it's not correct to say that it's in the interim budget. It's supposed to be added to the final budget. It's been approved to be added to the final budget. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, the grant amount was reduced. It was moved from the grant
Yes.
line to this line.
Right. So this
So it's
would-
not gonna increase the budget.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So are what you're saying, Kelly, that based on the motion before, there is 15,000 in that line item already approved?
Yes.
That's part of a motion that we made is, that's a well, anything's reversible, but at this point, it's in the final budget even though we haven't approved it.
Yeah, it's, yeah, you can say that.
Call the question, Chair.
Okay, yeah, it's, interesting discussions going on. All right, we had a request to receive these for information. All those in favor?
Did we do that already? Oh, these ones.
Yeah. All opposed? Okay, moving on, I was just thinking we need to, maybe a motion that we have this on the agenda for our workshop. Can we put that on there for do we need a motion for that? I don't know, do we need, or just, cause it is something that we need to finalize and get out of limbo, so to speak, right? I know final motions have to come in at a, we can't do any decisions, but we can look at it and what we wanna do, or just have those discussions and come back.
Because the workshop,
It's a workshop, right?
so we will need a motion.
We don't need,
No.
okay. All right,
I understand.
okay, moving on to 5D1, our peace officer report.
Move that council receive for information the February 2015 Senior Peace Officers Report and the Fire Chief's Report as presented.
And we have Mr. Bloom to talk on his report and answer any questions.
Hey, Richard.
See you, Rich.
I'll just highlight some of the issues. We banned a couple more individuals from town property for a couple of serious offenses. We keep getting loitering at the town buildings. We monitor this on our, well, I shouldn't say our, on my patrol now. Still sending out unsightly. These are basically the ones that put their garbage at the curb with garbage bags only. When they are ripped open and garbage is scattered, that's when I send out a notice with recommendations, as in metal or plastic garbage cans. I noticed there's a few that have changed over, which is a positive, especially on Birch. There's getting to be more and more plastic garbage cans, which is a positive. What else we got? Oh, dog licenses are still. I took this over once Officer Marco left, and the next due date is April 1st. I don't know why April 1st, but anyway, that's what I have to go with. The letters were sent out before. So, once that date comes around and they're still outstanding, then municipal tags should be issued. The next one is a kind of a disturbing thing. We're receiving multiple calls about certain individuals urinating in public. Most disturbing one is at the post office. They don't bother going outside.
Oh, really?
No. This call I received, I wasn't on duty at the time, but I received this call from an employee, and she witnessed this. She stood there and watched, well, how long she stood there and watched. She's seen it happening. So, I've written 2 tickets. I think Officer Moracle has also written 2. So, I don't know why, it's just one of those things, it just, they said bladder problems, I don't know.
Do these people actually pay those tickets?
Actually, there's a couple that do, but majority will do time served. So it goes to warrant, and they have to serve the time. It's usually, I think, 3 days in custody. It's unfortunate. Next one is the stray cats. I received a couple more calls this week already regarding cats. As right now, I inform them that we have live traps available. So, but as you guys can read here, I did some phoning around to surrounding vets, vet clinics. They don't like to put down a healthy animal, but if it's uncontrollable or if it's, I guess, wild, for lack of a better word, they will do that. But if it's a tame cat, they're going to just send it away with whoever brings it and tell them to take it to the animal rescue. But they will euthanize wild cats, feral cats, or whatever one is. But other than that, that's a typical month.
I just have a couple questions. Since Officer Moricall is gone, are your hours, have you changed? Are you still like 8 to 5 and then?
Yeah, I'm just following a regular
Okay.
rotation.
Okay.
But there's gonna be days where I'm gonna have meetings when I'm on a night shift, so I'm gonna be coming in during the day, and that's just the way it's gonna be.
Okay. Next thing, I see that the skate park is cleared. I see people, kids there. I don't know if this needs to be a council resolution, but it has been brought to my attention that kids are there smoking, but Can we?
Well, it's public,
Can we
public area, I
ban,
guess we
can we ban it? Can we ban smoking? Is that a council decision at the park?
Well, let me put it this way. Majority of the teenagers, children that use that are under 18. It's against the law to smoke when you're under 18 or possess cigarettes, so. It's one of those things is, I could sit there all day and write tickets, I guess. But.
And my last thing, in the trailer park, the very end trailer as you're coming from the main trailer park, part of the park, as you're coming through where you make the first Eastview turn and you go through the main part of the trailer park.
Okay.
Probably all winter, there's been a logging truck plugged in parked there at the very end of the trailer.
That's a tractor. I haven't seen
Still a
any.
log truck.
Well,
Is it have to be a tractor in a trailer
Well,
that's considered commercial?
my discretion is yes, but
Okay,
if we wanna go that way, I guess school buses, they weigh just as much as a tractor. Like our bylaw, I should rephrase that, our bylaw states 5,500 kg, like, that's the weight of the vehicle. That's over the weight, buses are over the weight.
I'm just.
I'm just saying, that's my discretion.
Okay,
Obviously, if he's pulling a trailer, then yeah, it's gonna be out or, yeah, no questions asked, it's out.
okay,
But, I understand, but if it's running 24 hours, then I'll be confronting that too.
I don't know if it's running 24 hours or not,
Okay.
but I was just curious.
Oh.
And my last thing, have you gotten the signs and the cameras and stuff ready for the skate park yet?
Signs are ordered,
Okay,
the cameras are existing, we're not adding any, or we're not, there's 3 that are directed at the park, so.
okay, thank you.
I'm just curious, Al, what were people banned from our properties for doing? What kind of, you said 2 people had been banned from town property?
Assault with a weapon.
Wow,
Well, alleged, I guess.
yeah, still gotta go to court,
It's-
that's the reason that they've been banned.
Yeah.
And what facility were they in that caused this?
Sports balance.
Sports Palace.
That was Officer Merkel's file, and he just
Yeah.
elaborated a bit on it. I didn't hear the whole situation or how things went down, but that's what he said.
And one more question, just, I'm curious about the dog licensing, because, how do you, like, you have the previous year's list of who had a dog, and you send out and say, please renew, and they don't renew, and, so then you send them a reminder to renew, and they don't renew, as of April 1st, right?
That's-
And then what happens?
Well, that'll be, the next step will be municipal ticket.
So, but what happens if their dogs are dead or been
Well,
given
that's
away,
what.
or- I can think of somebody who,
No,
sorry, Deb.
It's indicated in the letter.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it states that if you've no longer owned the dog or
Oh,
it's
okay.
deceased,
Yeah,
please contact.
yeah,
'Cause yeah, we're unaware of.
that's right, well, that's what I was thinking, yeah.
And I question the extent of the time due date. Like, you're supposed to have it done by January 31st. At max, I've given another 2 weeks from that date. I don't know why he went 2 months, or 3 months, sorry, or 2 months, 2 months.
Is that just an arbitrary date, or is that in the bylaw?
The April 1st? Arbitrary, I guess.
Thanks.
The contract with Jewville Flair, is that still, are you still going over there?
I put it on hold until the budget.
Okay.
Well, I don't wanna put the town at,
Do they know you're not coming?
yeah, I informed them that until we get a finalization on the budget. But I did tell them that I have a couple court dates there, so I will be attending court.
Oh.
So I just incorporated patrol at that time, and they were happy with that, so.
Good report,
Thank you.
so. And I think that, the electronic, speed signs, did you order them,
I'm waiting for the final approval.
final approval? And the ones that we have already,
They'll be going out?
they'll be going out soon? Well, probably April or,
No, I can probably start now, cause it's fairly warm during the day, so yeah. But when I'm, when I'm on shift, I guess.
why, do you have to bring them back? They can't stay out overnight, they'll freeze then?
Well, well, no. I'm just afraid of vandalism myself, like,
How much were they?
the one was $6,000 and the other one was 20, or just about 3,000. They're chained to the pole, but I guess we could probably leave them out.
I don't know. Surprising enough, I don't find vandalism as much as they used to be in
I
this
know,
town.
that's decreased quite a bit.
Yeah, so,
And they will be on the high, we can try it, yeah.
well, we have insurance. It's only about $100,000 deductible. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Any other questions? No? Thank you very much for your report.
I'll stick around for the next one.
Oh, okay. We also have the fire, the cost sharing agreement
Mr. Chair, the motion was for both the,
for both, that's what I was wondering. Yeah, we have the fire report in that one, so we'll do the fire and then get to you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
If that's all right, yeah.
You're up.
So as you can see, February was a little bit busier than January was. But all in all, it was not too bad.
I'm curious, who calls the fire department when their child's locked in the car? Is that just go? They expect you to just take your jaws of life and rip off the roof and get in there? Or
I guess so, I don't know. Why she didn't call roadside assistance, I
Yeah.
don't know, but,
That was funny.
she called us instead and we called roadside assistance. So we could have broke the window, but that's the first time for one of us.
That's right, yeah. I think we've all probably done that at one point, too.
I think she probably just panicked because her baby was in the back seat and.
Yeah. I need help of somebody.
Yeah. So, as you can see, on February 16th, the fire department, in conjunction with MD of Eight Lakes FCSS, held a pancake breakfast for Family Day, and it proved to be a fairly successful event. We had we didn't really keep track, but around 100 people, I guess, or maybe even a little over 100 people showed up. So, and one lady came in and she said, "Well, where's your donation box?" And we said, "Well, we didn't have one." And she said, "Well, bring a boot out there and put it up." So we did, and we ended up getting $300 at the end of the day. So, bonus.
Yeah, absolutely.
February 22nd till the 27th, I attended a fire investigation course in Devon. It was really intense. All codes and stuff like that, so it was mind-boggling. By the end of the week, my head was fried. I still haven't written the exam. I have 30 days to write the exam, which, well, now I've only got 2 weeks left, so I gotta get after it pretty quick. On our fire department, we've had a few changes in our structure of our officers. Trevor Szarowski stepped down as training officer. He just got fed up with trying to organize practices and people not showing up and not enough people on our department to hold a practice. And the ones that were there are complaining, and so in the process we got another training officer. Dan Gilmore has taken over that position now, so so far it's worked out not too bad. I think Dan, sort of being a school teacher, he probably gets carried away sometimes in explaining things, so he takes a little bit more time than he should. These guys are adults, they're not kids, but mind you, I shouldn't say that. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys knew or not, but Lynn Pardell, my deputy, will be leaving later this summer. They're moving to Peace River, so unfortunately that'll be a real loss to me. And I think I'm gonna have Trevor take her position. So. And the last thing is this year the Fire Commissioner's Office has declared May 3rd to the 9th as Volunteer Firefighter Appreciation Week. And I was just wondering if, I know we don't have money, so I was thinking just a thank you letter from council, or I don't know, I'll leave that up to council decision. Just something to the volunteers, recognizing that they're appreciated, and I mean it's so hard to keep these guys, and especially now, like lately, with the MD getting all their extrication equipment and stuff, our call volume has gone down, so we don't respond to as many accidents on the highway anymore as we used to, and I think the guys are getting bored, so it's really difficult. You got too many calls, it's a pain, because all the employers are getting offended, and then you don't have enough calls and all the volunteers are getting so I don't know, it's just a nightmare. So. But anyway, if council could do something for, like, just a form letter or whatever, like I say, I know we don't have money, so I'll leave it up to council to
I don't know if we need to make a motion to have council, recognize the volunteer firefighters in some way. I really, really believe that they are the forgotten volunteers in the town. they don't get the recognition that they deserve for what they do. And if there's any way that we can let them know how appreciated they are by the council and the town, I think we should make an effort in some way to do that.
Absolutely.
Well, council could all take us to Hawaii or Florida for a week.
We could get that in the budget. I wonder if we used electronic sign and did some, you know, like a thank you with each one's individual name. Because then as people drive by, they would see the names and people would start to recognize who are the people that are actually.
Something.
Yeah, just something, like I say, finances are a problem, so.
I think, just going to that, we need to have a discussion on what we do, cause I think everybody here totally agrees with you, and thank you for bringing that up, because yes, we do want to recognize them, and that's a perfect time during
Yeah.
Fire Week, so.
Fire Week is until May 3rd to the 9th, so we have some time. I think council should take this and think about it for a bit and bring forth an RFD of what they would like to do with some options.
When was the last time the honorarium was raised for the volunteers?
10 years?
$10 a call, or whatever it is.
But that's money, so.
Well, I'll spend it.
It's a worthwhile money thing, because you have people who will come in and save your home, like, will rescue you.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this is important stuff to
I
have the
agree.
fire department that we have.
I mean, I might be biased because I'm part of the team, but, I mean, it is a big commitment to, leave your family at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and you don't know if you're gonna come back alive or not. You never know.
In the few conversations I've had with some of the guys that are firefighters, they, you know, talked about the fact that their pay is so low. Nobody seemed, not that anyone will ever turn down money, I'm sure, like if we were able to afford to increase that. It seemed to be not a very important part of why they do it. But appreciation in some form that, you know, and some recognition, like, so the community actually knows who the people that are doing it. That could actually help even with recruitment, when people start to notice who's doing it, what they're doing, you know, you put them on a pedestal a little bit in the community and people, start to know who they are. That may do two things. It may pat them on the back and show them the appreciation they deserve, as well as encourage others to come forward to volunteer. We can do that in money, that's all a good thing, but I do know that when I had brought that up before, it wasn't a huge factor, because even if you double $10 to 20, it's still not a lot of money.
Okay, so, maybe we have one motion on the floor to accept the two reports for information, and perhaps we can make a motion after for, bring it in as an RFD, and we can discuss it at another meeting and come up with an idea and go with it, for sure, so.
Okay. I appreciate council's support.
Thank you, Ken.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor of receiving reports for information? Good. We'd like to, I'd like to make a motion that we have at our direct administration to bring a request, or a request for a decision regarding appreciation of the firefighters. How would you like to do that?
Regarding firefighters appreciation week.
Yes. How to recognize the firefighters during firefighter appreciation. All those in favor? Oh, did you get that, Val? Yeah, I think she's got enough of it then.
Any specific meeting, or did you put any date
next
Next.
next meeting. I'll work with Ken to flash out some ideas and options for council, so we'll bring it next week.
All those in favor? All right, then we had, Alan was up here for the weed inspector appointment, so, go ahead.
Make a motion that council approves the appointment of the MD Weed and Pest Inspector Robbie Platt as the High Prairie Weed and Pest Inspector.
Thank you. Any discussions on that?
We've now passed this, I hope that we will utilize him before it becomes an issue like it was last year. With the thistle and the overgrown other areas that were weed infested and stuff, so hopefully, now that we have it in place, we'll use him once spring starts, saying, okay, here we go.
That was the whole intent, yeah. So, we're gonna be sending out, pamphlets in the utility bills stating that what's a list of the noxious weeds and how to control them and this and that. And the MD is ordering the pamphlets at no cost to us, and we just put them in the utility bills.
So everybody will get one.
Everybody. And then all vacant lots will be first on the list, and they will be spraying to control them.
Is our bylaw vigorous enough to enforce this, or do we have to look at it?
No, our unsightly bylaw, it's sufficient.
Well, I think that's good to have those controls. All right, no other questions? All those in favor?
I make a motion that council proclaim May 17th to the 23rd, 2015 as Public Works Week in High Prairie, and direct administration to come back at our next regular council meeting with ideas of how council can show our support, i.e. barbecue hosted by the councillors. Similar to what we just done for the firefighters.
Is that just the week after, March?
Yep.
May 17th or 23rd. Yep. 2 weeks after, because that's May 3rd to the 9th.
What that third?
You got it, Val? Okay. Discussion?
Let's read it up then.
Oh, okay, we can read it back to make sure, yeah. Well,
Council proclaim May 17th and 23rd Public Works Week in High Prairie and direct administration to come back to council with an RFD regarding let's see, how to show our support and appreciation of the town's Public Works Department.
Perfect. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Carried. Moving on, get to flip the page to the CAO's report. Thanks for getting in there.
Make a motion that council receive the CAO Kelly Tomacalo's written and verbal report and action list for information.
Alright. Questions for Kelly, comments?
What's going on with the motion 77114?
Glenn is on holidays and he's working on it. So as soon as he's done, we'll bring it back to council.
Is the tender already awarded on that?
The West Freezer?
Yeah. What did I sign for the contract? That was the.
I don't want to say it.
That was West Fraser, that's what I thought. I wasn't Railway
Yeah,
Avenue.
just kidding, yeah.
It was West Fraser.
Yeah.
But was it
We-
only the, no, it was both sections, and he
Yeah.
said, if we don't get the right of way, we will not be able to do the second section of that contract. Okay, so we're looking for, right of way,
For Shipoli and for.
yeah, for the businesses along there. So it was a two-part contract.
Just to go off of what Madam Mayor was just saying, that is going to loop the water lines to increase the pressure over there. If my memory refreshes me, that was the whole point of this, was to loop the lines.
Through Shibunia's place
Right.
to West Fraser
And that is,
along the business.
and that is gonna get looped by the River Junior High School, across the river that way. 56th Ave.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, that's where it would come across.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just in some discussions there, I just wanna make sure I gave the right information.
Okay.
but then
Actually,
it goes, north-south to West Fraser, and then along the highway it goes east-west. If that east-west doesn't go, because they can't get right of way on all those businesses, then they'll just they'll drop that portion of it, the east-west. But they will continue
Yeah.
on
okay.
to West Fraser.
The 760/14, just to give you an update. This is one of the one of the most frustrating encounters we've ever had. We're working so closely with Vic Abel, with the MD, and calling all the airport areas just for the license and license transfer, and it's taking us endless. He sent emails, and we're waiting for those emails. What's important about this is that we need to get that information into the draft lease, the lease agreement. It has to be part of it, and so just to give you an update, it's one of those things that's just taking on endless. I mean, Grantley gave us names, we called, and but we're working on it diligently just to reassure all of you.
And I know they gave a report at the airport meeting and said that, those calls have been made many times and are not getting returned, and emails are being sent and not getting returned, so it's been a frustrating episode.
But that's the last, Mr. Chair, that's one of the last pieces. Once we get that, we'll have a draft agreement in place, and then we'll have the sub-tenant lease, which means that all the RJ Willis Croft and all the areas that we have the lease, we'll pass that on to the MD so that the money can go directly to them, because that's part of the agreement. So that's where we are at, just to give you heads up on that.
Okay.
The golf club renewal, that's supposed to come to the council before the end of March. Will that be at the next meeting, right?
Good turn.
130/15 on the first page.
Oh. Yes. Yeah, we are working on it, yeah.
All right, having no other questions, call for a vote on receiving this for information. All those in favor? Carried. Moving on then to 7.01, the budget workshop, page 91.
council approved, March 17th, 2015 for a budget workshop starting at 7 p.m.
Okay.
But I'd like it to be no longer than 3 hours. I don't think that we can deal with budget after a full day of work longer than 3 hours and be making good decisions. And I know that there's some discussion here about the Saturday as well, right? And that was to sort of be able to do it more clear.
Yes.
But that doesn't look like that's gonna work out for Vern to be there. And I don't know whether to add it to this motion but I was thinking that maybe having 2 meetings. Having one here where we can have Public Works at it, and then one just before or just after where we as council can have a workshop, a budget understanding sort of workshop, because there's some things that sorry, I'm jumping.
Okay, so just to be clear, that at this point, you're making a motion that we approve the April 17th, starting at 7 and going no later than 10. Okay? We'll deal with that one, and then we can have discussion. We might either amend that or make another motion afterwards if we want. So, discussion, Donnie, no, I thought you had your hand up, sorry.
I was just thinking that because of that if we started early and we provided something for us in terms of supper, could we start at 5 or 5:30? Then it's just a suggestion I'm just throwing in. I mean, I'm not making that decision though.
Yeah. Okay. Good enough. Sorry.
I just, I'm just wondering, even though 80%, according to this, it pertains to Public Works, is it feasible to still do a Saturday? Can we submit our questions, or will that be defeating the purpose?
I think we could, there's a few agenda items that I'd like to see at this meeting, like we as a council need to deal with the legislation budget, the legislative budget, that portion of it that belongs to us, and we really need to
Right.
look at that. 'Cause it's been, it's been in an interim budget, but we haven't had a chance to address our part of the budget. We need to figure out if we wanna set a mill rate target, 'cause that was the recommendation, and that's a discussion that, perhaps doesn't involve Vernon. But we need to decide where we'd wanna go and what the implications of that are. We know that we wanted to understand the town budget and the implications of that, so that was the part that really involved Vern. And I know at this, we talked about one other agenda item was a possible mill rate, or the utility rate discussions, that we wanted to sort of fit that into that meeting so we can get it done. And given those sort of 4 key agenda items, I don't know if we can get all of that done in 3 hours.
It's just a matter of guidance, so that we're clear that this is a workshop.
Yeah.
And so a workshop is more driven by your administration, it's not a meeting. What you might want to do, I'm just trying to help here. What you might want to do is during the workshop, look at the issues and then set up a meeting so that you can deal with these issues that just pertain to council making decisions. Because at a workshop you can't make decisions.
No,
Right.
but
So,
we need to
yeah,
get on the same page.
Exactly. It's just something I'm throwing in. I'm not trying to throw cold water on anything. You just can't make decisions, but you'll be firmly rooted during that portion on what you've covered, and then what needs to be covered by council in decision making, and then you set a meeting for that, if that makes sense.
Okay, I think so. So just one question I have coming to mind, what's the difference between a workshop and a meeting of the whole? Like you get that, lots of people meet as a whole on a topic. A meeting of the whole, you hear that term.
The MJ is clear
Yeah.
that council only meets to discuss town business. They're using town resources to make decisions on behalf of the town regarding town business. It's supposed to be open. It's supposed to have everybody as part of the discussion. Or the public becomes part of the process in a way. A workshop is strictly for educational purposes where it's actually led by the administration. The only time that your meetings are not public is when you go into the in-camera issues of discussing land, personnel, and legal. But the democratic legislative process is that council's business is conducted in a public meeting.
So I'm still not clear on what meeting of the whole is different than a regular meeting. What's the meeting of the whole? Just, I'm not sure if I understand that part of it yet.
The term is committee of the whole. So it would be a committee of council, but it includes everybody.
Yeah, committee of the whole, but it's open to the public.
It probably is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how Slave Lake works that way.
Yeah, well, and I know lots of the other councils too, when they have their budget discussions, they say it's a meeting of the whole, is what I've been told at the, various conferences and workshops, and ask how they get through these and have those discussions. That's how they do it.
So you would have to ask them, is that committee of the whole meeting open to the public? And if they say no, then it's the question of, well, how come?
How come? Yeah.
Yeah.
And ask
And
them,
maybe they're not-
why?
Why?
Yeah, maybe it's not following the MGA.
Exactly.
Um,
And that's what we used to do before John Street got here. It used to be closed. I mean, and that was it. Mayor will know that.
I had a discussion with a councillor from Stony Plain, and they have 2 meetings a month, but they have mid-month meeting, committee, they call it COW meeting, committee of the whole. And it's open, but they say that nobody comes. Like they have 2 formal meetings where they have media and a formal agenda topic, and then they have these committee meetings, and they are still open meetings to discuss things that need more individual sort of attention, or and budget would probably be one of them that fits into that.
I have a little bit of a concern that, like, we had a budget workshop, and it was okay, it was good, we got some clarification, but we didn't address the issues that we really needed to address at that, or we didn't have time to address all of them, we were led one way and in my opinion needed to go here, so I wanna make sure we get some of these things addressed, and how do we get there? That's my concern on it, is I don't want to have administration go, this is where we're going, we're gonna lead this, and it's not in a direction that we, and council needs to be clear with, and what we want to achieve out of that meeting. We need to be clear on that.
So I guess that's where I'm thinking we need 2 workshops, because we do need one that we're dealing with budget, and we have Public Works here, and get that big understanding of everything that we need Vern to answer questions, right? But we also have, and Brian's right, we haven't dealt with council expenses. And there's some topics that just need to explore, not make decisions, just sort of get a general understanding what we can do and what we can't do. That can be led by administration, but doesn't need all, you don't need Public Works. So we can do that the night before, like we can do that, and then if we break these, I know that council's concerns and everybody's is it's very difficult to work full-time and then have very long meetings afterwards, and especially when we're dealing with budget issues. But if we make them just a little bit shorter, and that's why I had said the 3 hours, but maybe giving us 2 nights to be able to go over that, 2 different workshops before we have to make our final decisions.
so we can have the workshop with answering the questions, but how is that next meeting? I just wanna make sure we're clear on what the next meeting would be called, and maybe it's called a meeting of, a committee of the whole, that we meet and go over that. And we'd have to have that advertised, obviously, and open to the public. But I think that's the discussions of, we've never as a council agreed on what we want to get to as a mill rate. And those issues. We've never sat down and really, I mean, we haven't agreed on the utility rate. We need to sit down and hash that out, so administration's got a fighting chance of saying, okay, we can get this through. We know, here's everything that council wants. And sort of define that, and that's gonna take some time. That's, and we can call that a committee of the whole. I don't know if the workshop's the right way, or we can call it a workshop, but we need to have those meetings, and it's gonna be 2.
What about calling it a retreat then? If you're just worried about a title, there's
Yeah.
nothing in the MGA that I could find that says anything about having a retreat.
Well, and it's not even, I mean, that's so it doesn't have to be public, and it's not even that's not even the issue. It's just
not,
that
no.
we just wanna have it, right? And we don't wanna have to worry about, cause, I mean, we see how many people come to our meetings. This is an open meeting, right? We have nobody here. So it's not like we're trying to have a meeting where people can't come. We just wanna have the meeting. We wanna have an opportunity to discuss. I agree with you. It's frustrating. We don't know what to call something.
Yeah.
If we call it a retreat or we call it a workshop, it doesn't have to be advertised. It doesn't matter, if it's open at that point. But there's nothing that's being discussed that's behind closed doors, right? So I don't know, Kelly, what the
No, that's
answer is,
fine.
but we need to be able to do it, and we need to
Yeah,
be able to have a
okay.
couple different dates.
So you want to have the 17th and the 18th straight, 2 nights? Want to call it workshop retreat, that's fine. And
Mr.
but,
Chair?
yeah.
The council's been asking for a Saturday, so we have the date. But every time we ask for a weekend, well, the treasurer won't show up, or refuses to show up, or we can't have it on because this person can't come. It don't matter, we would like a Saturday meeting so we can discuss the budget and go over it. And I think administration needs to hear our call for having, and a cry to try to have this meeting, and every time you ask for a Saturday, it gets shot down immediately. Like, is administration going to listen to council's plea to have these meetings, or are we gonna get shunned and just get 3 hours here and 3 hours there? This is beyond frustrating.
I don't want
Well,
more than
that's-
3 hours anyway, any day.
That's why I was asking if we could still have it on the Saturday, but just pose our write it on the board saying, okay, we have a question on line item, blah, 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 on the sewer. And then just have a meeting with Vern saying, okay, what are the answers to our questions? Cause, I mean, we're piecemealing it again.
I'd rather meet before and then have Vern, like, instead of, like, cause you're suggesting Vern on the 16th and then afterwards, whether it be a Saturday or whether it be the Wednesday, that's after we've met with Public Works, and I kinda feel like we have to sort of have another understanding of where we're if we're gonna discuss mill rate, where we want the mill rate to be, because then it's like, in order for the mill rate, just say, in order for the mill rate to be here, what do we have to do? We need to kind of go into the next part of that. Can Public Works do anything to reduce costs or make us understand where the money is being spent? And therefore, can we actually even look at a mill rate reduction? It can't happen, I don't think, after we.
I think we should go with the March 21st, 9:30 a.m. budget workshop. We've already got that, everybody agreed to it, they penciled it into their calendars, and we can talk about the legislative portion of it, the utility rate increase, the, what was the third one?
Our legislation, the mill rate increase, and the
Mill rate
utility
increase.
rate.
Okay. And then,
I don't think that was
That
good
would-
for Brian, and I never did agree that, I don't know that was good for
Yeah, I
myself
can't
to
think
put on
of
that
it.
date. So I don't know, that must have been maybe a meeting that I missed, because I
It was the
figured-
last meeting, we picked the date, but I didn't have my phone at that, so I didn't have my calendar, but that's.
Well, I don't know if we're ever gonna find a date that everybody can attend, that's the problem. We got 7 people who have different things going on. So it's kinda like, let's set it, I mean, I know it's the budget and it's kind of an important part of what it is that we do. But, I mean, if somebody can't make it, somebody can't make it, let's just, whoever can make it, let's get it done.
On the 21st, though, you'll miss 3 council.
No, this is a council meeting.
On the 21st, you'll miss 3 councillors, cause Michael won't be there either, and Brian and
Michael
myself.
won't be here for any of them.
Right, I'm just saying
For
there'll
a while.
be 3 for sure, so you've only got, like, you barely got half, though.
We'll have
I mean, the
4.
weekend before, maybe, if you're insistent on a Saturday. I mean, personally, I prefer just to do 3 hours instead of a full day kind of thing. I like the idea, cause I can only absorb so much of this, I think especially when we're dissecting that budget. More than 3 hours in that budget, and I've had, I'm not making sense out of the rest of it, so.
Well, I don't think we can set it without Quentin because he was basically saying, this is the ones that I can be at. If you're gonna have 5, well,
But here we can make a decision on 5,
So
cause all 5 of us are here, right?
what have we decided?
Okay, so what we're hearing is we're all right with having the meeting on March 17th at 7 p.m. and going for a maximum of 3 hours, and that's the motion on the floor. That, I've heard that, everybody's all right with that, but we're also saying we wanna have another meeting. So we can vote on this, get that part of it passed, then we need to pick another date. We have the 21st, we know that that's not gonna work for, well, 2 of the people because we won't count Michael, cause he won't be at either of them, but.
That's his 30-day mark, though.
Oh, it might be, yeah.
It might be.
So we can keep it on that, I mean, that's,
He said he was off for a month.
yeah.
oh,
I don't know if that's changed or not.
so, the 17th. There might only be 5 of us there on the 17th.
17th at 7?
Call the question.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Alright, so we've got that meeting date and that's a good one to go over the stuff with
What's
Vern.
gonna be discussed at this meeting?
What's that?
It's a workshop, right? Budget workshop?
Yeah,
Or what are we gonna specifically discuss at this workshop?
Public
It's a
works.
workshop, it'll be led by administration.
Okay,
and then we can work with administration to, yeah. So the next thing then is,
so,
do we
so
want
what are we gonna be discussing at this
Oh.
workshop? Are we talking the legislative budget, the mill rate and that, or are we talking public works, or what?
I think, in my opinion, this is just mine, is that we would talk about, understanding the town budget, especially the parts that Vern can tell us about. That part of what I'd like to know is hearing it from him. And I would also, at that meeting, at least have a little bit of if we have time, discussion on mill rates. Get started on that. That would be where I'd like to go, but that's my opinion. Cause we can look at our legislative budget ourselves and go through that and see what we wanna cut and go. And we need to sit down and talk about our utility rate, and we don't need Vern there to answer those. We've got all the information, we just need to agree on each line item and go from there.
What time is this at?
The motion was for 7 o'clock.
And that was, okay, 7 o'clock.
So, do we want to, at this point, do we want council to rescind motion that we made on the 21st, or just keep it for that date? Or have another date? Cause there'd be 4 people at that Saturday meeting.
3, okay.
I mean, to I know that we can go, but It's up to the rest of you.
In my opinion, I'd like to move it to the 14th if that works for people, cause I could make that meeting,
March 14th?
yeah. Saturday.
Can I ask what you guys are thinking, what, like a full day sort of meeting, is that why you wanted on Saturday, or what was the thought process?
The thought process was, number one, being fresh and ready to go, and then number two, going till you needed to get done. That was the ideas, done.
The idea for Saturdays, give tonight an example, we got a pretty simple agenda that really doesn't need to take that long, but people just like to go on and on and on and on and on, so you need an all day to discuss the budget, I would think. If you can't take a simple agenda and get through it in a timely fashion, you're gonna take a big budget meeting and you're gonna hash it down to 3 hours, we all know that's not gonna happen.
I just think that, I guess everybody sort of absorbs things differently, but I find it doesn't matter if it's the middle of a Saturday afternoon or if it's 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night, 3 hours of mulling over that is a lot. So to me, it doesn't matter the day, like whether it's a Saturday or a, Tuesday or whatever. I don't wanna see an 8-hour grueling budget day. I don't think we're gonna make that much progress, but I mean, whatever everybody thinks is the best. That's why I thought taking the 17th, having Vern, being able to sort of specifically deal with it, and then having one more session. It also gives us a time to step back, whether it's like whichever one it is, you step back and think, okay, I didn't really, and then you can review your notes. We've got like piles of this budget stuff. You can go back, take a look at something that you didn't understand, and still come forward and come forward the next meeting fresher. But yeah, to me, whether it's a Saturday or the Monday before the Tuesday meeting, it doesn't matter.
So we should have, as a point of order, we don't have another motion on the floor and we're discussing things, so we should make a motion to decide what we want to do.
I'm not here on 14th.
Oh, okay, so we got those issues, but. So, the 21st, are we going to rescind that? Keep it?
Can I suggest again?
Yes.
So if you had a workshop on the 17th, and then you had a meeting on the 18th to make decisions, matters arising from your workshop, would that be logical? And if you need more meetings, then you can decide. You have a workshop on the 17th, then you have a meeting, right? Council meeting, because if you make the decision now, then you have enough time.
So a special meeting, Kelly? Is that
Yes,
what
a
you're
special
suggesting?
meeting on the 18th.
And then what about keeping the 21st as a date that's set as another additional workshop if it's needed?
Then you can leave,
Because then
yeah.
then we can leave it, we can set it, and then if it's needed, we can.
Exactly. Not rescind the motion, but leave it as is. So if those don't work, then
Mhm.
you have the 21st as well.
Yeah, that would work for me. Okay,
Make a motion to have a special budget meeting March 18th, 2015, starting at 7 o'clock.
could I, make a friendly amendment to start it at 6?
You can,
Just so we
I
can-
may or may not be late.
Oh, you gotta work.
I've been working till 7 o'clock all the time, so.
Okay.
I'll accept your friendly amendment for 6 o'clock, and when I get here, I get here. How accommodating is that for council?
It is so accommodating.
Yeah,
And call the question.
okay. All those in favor? Opposed?
6 now, okay.
And we did not rescind the motion, so we still have the meeting on the 21st, the workshop on the 21st.
Do we have a time on the 21st?
9:30.
Yeah, 9:30.
Make a motion that council approve the attendance of the mayor to participate in the March 23rd, 2015 Youth Engagement Program at E.W. Pratt School.
Make a friendly amendment, mayor or deputy mayor,
I'll accept your friendly amendment.
I won't be here.
During the day?
it's really difficult for me to do day stuff.
What's the 23rd? Is that I thought that was a weekend.
It's a Monday.
And what time is it? Cause there's even two other meetings that day, intermunicipal and,
This is an evening.
it's an evening?
It's, well, it's, thought this whole thing was going all day.
All day, yeah.
Yeah, but the activities run from 9 AM to 5, and then,
Then they're having a potluck
here's the agenda.
at 6 to 8.
6 to 8, evening open, public community potluck. All local elected officials have been invited to participate and to hear the recommendations from the delegates. And I read somewhere that they would be, that's when the elected officials would be asked to say a few words.
Oh, okay. Well, that I can do,
It's from the state, yeah.
except I'm not bringing the potluck dish.
No, well, I don't know.
'Cause I don't cook. Can
Snacks and refreshments.
Somebody make me a dish
You
and
know
I'll
what I
make it.
do? I just bring donuts.
Now,
That's all right.
speaking to this motion, I sent, I'm sure I sent something to the CAO regarding the two people that were in attendance at this, cause they talked, originally I got an invitation and it said we would like some sponsorship.
I remember seeing that, cause one was from High Prairie and one was from Falais.
That's right, and they wanted some sponsorship. So I said, put it on the agenda for sponsorship dollars, and I specifically asked, who were the people in case, if you want me to ask for money, I need to know, who from High Prairie attended? And it was one from High Prairie and one from Flint.
I remember seeing that email.
So I'm disappointed that we're only going to attend. I think they were actually looking for some
Can you please
sponsorship.
check your email again, just to make sure that you sent it to, please?
And I'm not looking at it now, but the fact is that they wanted some sponsorship.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any
So
other
you're saying you're
discussion?
not here? Okay.
I'm not.
So it'd be the mayor, deputy mayor, that would cover you to participate in that in the evening.
Okay.
All those in favor? Carried.
And I'd like to make a motion that we sponsor the youth engagement program at PW Pratt School for $500, no, $250.
All right. Any discussion?
I find it very hard to vote on these sponsorship, on these types of things, knowing that we'll be going against our bylaws. So I'll be asking for a recorded vote.
Is it even here, like, there's no, this is just based on you thinking that they want a sponsorship?
I know they wanted
But
sponsorship.
we don't have any proof of their asking this in this agenda, right? Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I'm not missing a page.
No, you're not missing.
All right, any other discussion on it? All those in favor? All those opposed? Defeated?
It's recorded, please.
Okay, so if a recorded vote, there was one in favor, and Mayor Cox, and the other 4 were opposed. Okay, moving on, we have our reports. And Mayor Cox,
I didn't get my report sent in, but I did email you all. I'm sure you had a chance to look at it. If you have no questions, I move my report for information.
I didn't get a chance to look at it. You emailed it a while ago?
a couple of days ago.
Monday.
Okay,
I'm sure it's fine.
all those in favor? Carried. Moving to Councillor Carrier.
No report.
No report. We'll come back to Councillor Danaka, and we'll go to my report. It's attached for your information if there's any questions on it. Yep.
I had a phone call from Brian Holmberg, and he suggested that the airport committee look at a fly-in breakfast once they are up and with the fuel tanks, and perhaps that would be their celebration breakfast or something like that?
Actually, the group's gonna decide on what the grand opening is gonna look like, cause they want to have a grand opening and a bit of a celebration, and they're also looking at how they're gonna market and promote this out with the all of the pilots and various airlines, so that they know that the fuel's there. So they are looking at, number one, a celebration, and number two, marketing and promoting this out there. So they are looking at both of those, and I can bring that idea forward of how we can market that, or, you know, the celebration of it. So, yeah, those
So-
are both being looked at.
So I guess the question is again, does the airport have a commission, committee, whatever, have they got a budget that they're going to, like, how, so they're going to do a grand opening celebration, but where are they gonna get the money to do this celebration?
It would be part of the operating budget that's been approved.
So, again, are we going to get a budget from the airport, or are we just kind of giving them $12,500 and saying, this is operation?
And as far as we know, we got one budget, it was based on some of that, and there might be a change as we identify everything as we go forward. So it's a good question that I can follow up on
Yeah.
for sure.
Well,
what we
council
got.
never got anything, did we?
Not that I'm aware of.
The committee per se does not have a budget. The individual municipalities do have a budget. So the committees just make recommendations to the two municipalities for approval. We have a manager that takes care of the operations of the airport, and that reports to the CEO of the MD.
Okay, any other questions for me? I'll move my report for information. All those in favor? Moving on to Councillor Danaka.
Just a couple things. I had the library monthly meeting. You have their updated budget. Excuse me. The first page is their original budget, and the second page is the new budget, which they are not asking for anything. They did apologize at the meeting, saying that they did their budget wrong, because they did not have the revenues, they did not have certain things that we were looking for. You can also, this was in everybody's box. It's basically saying what they've done. Archiving's been put on hold. Staff has voluntarily given up a cost of living increase, but the budget is at 1%. New programs to be started are going into 2015. I'm not exactly sure what she means by our plan of service and needs assessment is on hold till 2016. I don't remember that being discussed at the meeting, so I will have to email her and ask her exactly what that means. The other meeting I had was the museum. It was a bylaw review. We updated the bylaws. They haven't been updated since 2004. So we went through the bylaws, and we will approve them at a future meeting once all of the changes have been printed out. And I move my report for information, verbal report for information.
Any questions for Donna? No? Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. And Councillor Rose?
I don't have any report, I've had no meetings since the last one.
You gotta tell us what's going on in Florida. Yeah, no reports on that. All right.
Make a motion, move into camera.
Can we go to the bathroom first?
Yep.
Yes.
It takes us a while to get into camera.
It takes a